Hey everybody, it's Jason Blaha here, and now that my two informative videos are done for the day, it's time to talk about current events in the online fitness community. And rather than do my standard video where I put my hat on and all of that, my +5 hat of weaponsmithing, I thought I would go ahead and see if we could just flip in this picture of Jason Momoa, because that's the topic of conversation, and hopefully I've modified this enough, and with it being with my moving backgrounds and Harambe's head on there, it will be enough that this isn't a copyright issue. This falls under fair use. Again, I run into problems with that from time to time. A lot of times people go, why don't you put this stuff in your videos? Well, because YouTube doesn't always like it when I do that. And you guys just got to live with that. But I think this one's going to work today. We're going to try it. And I want to talk a little bit about Jason Momoa and the physique that he currently has. And people need to understand what he's got here is a total contradiction of everything the online fitness world and bodybuilding world tells you is an acceptable physique. Because he's not massive, he doesn't have the big capped roid delts, and he's not ripped. Like by bodybuilding standards, he's actually fat. And this kind of goes to show you that what's being promoted these days in the whole bodybuilding and even so-called natty bodybuilding subculture online is a complete and absolute distortion from what the average person perceives. And people say, well, I don't care what the average person thinks about a physique. Well, you're in a very tiny minority, and honestly, you're statistically insignificant, because I can assure you that most people who work out, most people who go to the gym, start the gym, are going to start the gym this month, who are doing so not for sports reasons, because that's some reasons I would generally promote, not for athleticism, but purely because they want a more impressive or more attractive body. I can tell you right now, they look at this picture of Momoa and they're like, dude, I want to look like that. He's just a few years younger than me, and I can tell you right now, the way he looks right there, most guys in their 30s feeling a little bit jealous when they see that, even ones who might be casual gym goers. That's the distortion of what we have with what the general population perceives as a fantastic body versus this whole online subculture. Because realistically, where's he at? And honestly, what he has isn't unobtainable natty. Now, people are going to say, well, he might be on, sure, he could be on stuff. Lots of people in Hollywood are on stuff. Lots of people who don't even look that impressive are on stuff just for some of the longevity benefits, right? A lot of wealthy people use HGH and little low doses of tests and stuff who don't even look as good as he does. So no, that's no guarantee that he's natty. And we know actors usually use drugs for transformations. All right, that's the norm in Hollywood. Hollywood is full of people who use drugs for recreational purposes. I can assure you that if they want to shave 3 years off of their 3-month transformation, they need to make a 3-month transformation, not a 3-year transformation. They use drugs. That's how they pull it off. It's part of the whole thing. In his case, so this is a guy who's been lifting a really long time. He's been training a real long time. This isn't someone who just jumped up and made a transformation. I mean, how many years ago was season 1 of Game of Thrones? When he played Khal Drogo, he already had a foundation. He already had a base built. It's not like he's had to make any dramatic transformations since then. And if people don't believe that this is obtainable natural, let's look at his stats for a minute. He's 6'4", listed at 234 right now. 6'4", 234. That's a BMI of 28. Most guys who are using a bit of gear who don't get ultra ripped, what do we commonly see for BMIs? 30 plus? Even for guys in the athletic body fat? 30 plus is really common for guys using modest amounts of anabolics. He's at a 28 BMI. And if you guys pull some BMI charts, go look, and they're like, well, he's tall, and he's really, yeah, but BMI is relative to your height. A lot of you guys out there who are average height, you're not 6'4", you'd only need to be about 180 pounds or so to have the same BMI. It's 28, it's in the overweight range. In other words, he's a good 20 pounds overweight. 20 pounds overweight. Roughly, right? How much muscle do you gain if you bust your ass really hard for 2 years straight? If you start as a rank novice, gaining 20 pounds of muscle in 2 years can be done. So this guy's what, 20, 25 pounds overweight at a healthy body fat? He's gained 25 pounds of muscle. You know what? A 6'4" guy gaining 25 pounds of solid muscle over the course of a decade or more, because how long has this guy been training? At least a decade. That's totally believable. And then look at his proportions. He's not disproportionate. This isn't a guy who stands around doing tons of isolation work. You know, he doesn't have those bodybuilder disproportionately capped delts, massive biceps. He's got big pecs. He's overall proportioned like an athlete. What's his body fat percentage at? 14-15% there? And again, you get a lot of people who, when I tell them that going under 10% body fat as a male is extremely unhealthy, it can hurt you, it can damage your organs, it can hurt your sex drive, it can hurt your performance, it could actually crash your testosterone levels. And they say, no, you want everyone to walk around being fat. No, not at all. Do you guys think Momoa is fat here? He's well above 10% body fat. This guy could lose 10 pounds of body fat, 10 pounds of fat from where he is right now, and still be in the range, the lower end of the range that I think is okay and healthy. All right, so when I'm talking about guys going under 10% body fat, in other words, I'm saying that Momoa doesn't need to lose 15 pounds of fat, that if he did, it would harm his health. If he lost 15 pounds of fat from where he is in this photo, it would be bad. But he's bodybuilder fat right now. But he's about 14-15% body fat. 14 to 15% body fat is what you want to see in a strength athlete. We like seeing that in a power lifter. We like seeing that in an Olympic lifter. That's pretty good for a football player who doesn't need maximum weight, absolute weight, or a rugby player who doesn't want to get too ripped but also doesn't want to be so fat that he's got a weak power to weight ratio. He's right in that range. When you look at what he looks like in this photo, what's he look like? He looks like an athlete. All right? Looks like an athlete. Would you guys think he's a heavyweight MMA fighter? Heavyweight boxer? Yeah? How about a power lifter? How about the slightly lighter weight competitive strongman or an Olympic lifter? If you looked at his physique the way it looks there, he looks like an athlete who does strength sports or does sports that have a strength component to it. It doesn't look like someone who's gotten massive. He's not ripped, and he doesn't look like he sits around doing tons of isolation work. He's got an overall balanced athletic structure. A balanced athletic structure, kind of more of what you're looking at is more of a classic physique look, which is built with overall strength training, functional type strength. As if there's any strength that's not functional. It's kind of a misnomer, isn't it? So here's where we're going with this. 28 BMI, healthy average 14 to 15% body fat. This is obtainable natty. This is totally obtainable natty. This is the sort of physique that will impress the average person walking down the street. This sort of physique will impress people at the beach. This sort of physique will impress people if you take your shirt off at the club or whatever it is you guys are always worried about. All right, this is a totally socially acceptable physique. No drugs required for this. You wouldn't have to sit around and do a ton of extra fluff work to build this physique. This physique could be done by a lot of people in terms of just overall structure, proportion, body composition. A lot of people could reach this in 4 or 5 years. 4 to 5 years of just hard training with basic movements. You know, bench presses, overhead press, squats, chin-ups, pull-ups. You know, a little bit of extra stuff in there. I mean, there's nothing wrong with doing some isolation work if you need to, but it wouldn't be required to build this. This is a general athlete's physique, and that's why it's appealing to the general population. All right, and also he's holding a little more body fat than a lot of people consider to be ripped. He's holding more body fat than he has in some previous photos and stuff, right? Why? Well, people need to remember, when you get really ripped, the more ripped you get, the smaller you look when you stand next to other people. Getting really ripped brings your total size down. Most guys out there, if you're going to have to stand near other people and you want to look more superhero-like, unless you're going to blast enormous amounts of drugs so that you can get massive, you're going to look bigger if you put on 7 or 8 pounds of fat. A lot of really ripped guys could put on 7, 8, maybe even 10 pounds of fat from where they are, and they're going to be fuller and bigger. They're going to look bigger next to other people than they may have before. When they look at them in isolation or just sitting there or standing there by themselves, they look bigger ripped. That little bit of extra fat, that athletic level of body fat, actually oftentimes looks bigger when you stand next to other people because your proportions are bigger, your shoulders are wider, your chest is fuller. All right, you look bigger and fuller. And that's exactly what this is. And this is why this is a socially acceptable physique, because he looks like a proportioned, classic athletic look. Not a freakish bodybuilder look, not the ultra insanely sick, emaciated, shredded look. And this is a look that can be obtained natural in 4 to 5 years with basic training and a good balanced diet and a bit of cardio. It can absolutely be done by most people out there. You're not going to be as tall as him, but just the overall proportion and scale. All right, guys, but that's really all I have to say on that today. I hope it's been informative, and I will talk to you guys next time.